Morning, Trainiacs. I saw an awesome photo. Well, I was kind of part of taking the awesome photo because the photo is of me, of the Ventum ride that I did in Boulder some time ago. And the difference in aerodynamics between me on the bike now versus 2 years ago, huge, enormous. But it was done without very many changes in my position and nothing that required me like getting more flexible or in a less comfortable position. So after I do this swim and water run, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna show you some of the changes that you can very easily make to your bike that will make you more aerodynamic without really having to change your body structure. Like, simple stuff. Short and hopefully still quite effective. I'm still trying to do one run a week in this build up to Puerto Rico as a water run because I know that I'm a fairly injury prone dude as far as running goes, especially when you start running 4 times a week. So just subbing out one that's intense but lighter impact, hopefully that helps. And then B, I gotta test things and see if I can recommend them to you. On that note, 4 things that I tested and changed that helped me get more aero without changing my body structure or really anything physiologically. They'll work. Look at Mel, she's just in stitches over there. What are you laughing about?
I can't say it.
I can't say it on the camera. It's pretty fun. So, I want to show you 2 pictures. One is of my first bike fit, and this would have been about 1.5 years ago. And this was after a full bike fit that I did at Alter Ego, and basically they got me into the first position that I was comfortable with on the Cervelo P2 that I used to ride. And you can see from it that there's like a really big scoop, like my arms and chin, there's a big gap here, and it's like a big wind scoop. Now take a look at some of these photos from just last week that were taken in Boulder. Now you can see that the gap between my chin and my hands is really only about 4 inches high. Now to get this, you might think historically that I would have had to like start slamming the front end here, raising up the saddle, but that's the old way to do it. The new way to do it is what we did, which involves really no serious biomechanical like stretching, physiotherapy to be able to get into that position. It was really just some very small changes with modern bike fitting that allowed me to get a fair bit more aerodynamic. And the more we can close up that hole, the faster we're going to be, the more comfortable we're going to be with really the same effort. And this is pretty significant. When we were doing the How to Bike with Cam Worf masterclass, one of the guys from the Bike Dynamics company that we were talking to said that him personally, when they did the testing on him, they were able to save 17 minutes on the bike over the course of a full Ironman with no extra like physiological changes. That's huge. Let's dive into the few that I've done that you can do quite easily. So historically with triathlon bike fitting, what people did to get more aerodynamic was they took the stem and just slammed it to the top of the headset in the bike. They got it as low as possible, and then they took the handlebars, angled them down. We didn't do that. In our case, we did two things. And this started after Coeur d'Alene last year because I had about 3 months in between Coeur d'Alene and Half Ironman Worlds, which is enough time to adapt to the position. I took a 1/4 inch, just a 1/4 inch out of the headset. Now, when we're going from like 12, 15 inches of gap between my hands and my chin down to about 4 inches of gap between my hands and my chin, and we've really only changed this by a 1/4 inch, how do you do that? Well, here are some ways. Take off the shirt so you can see the gun show and I can demonstrate all of this. The very first thing that I did to bring that frontal area a little bit narrower was I just moved the pads in 1 notch. So again, we're talking a 1/4 inch lower and about a total of a 1/2 inch tighter. That's it, nothing too serious. Now, in order to make this fairly comfortable, I had to make a couple of small additions. First, I had to change over to these 51 Speed Shop elbow cups. Those are the cups that are from the Ventum, and those are about the average size of what comes on a tri-bike. So the 51 Speed Shop cups, you can see, are about 50% larger. The next thing that's the difference is that's about the standard amount of holes that come on a tri-bike elbow cup, whereas the 51 Speed Shop cup, quite a few more holes. So you have a little bit more adjustability. And why that makes a big difference is if you've got more adjustability, you can really customize the front end of the bike so that you can just get all of your weight on those elbows. And then here's where you start getting really aerodynamic. If you can plant all of your weight onto those elbows, you can just all of a sudden just start leaning into the front end of the bike with all of your weight and slowly start bringing yourself down without slamming yourself. It's just that you've got so much weight positioned on those elbow cups, you get lazy in the hands, lazy in the upper back, lazy in the neck, so you're all of a sudden more aerodynamic and more comfortable. Next thing that we changed was with the extensions here. So these 51 Speed Shop extensions, they come out and up a lot more than traditional aero bars, which used to just go straight down. Now, the problem with those straight down bars is that if your hands are angled this way, creates tension all the way across the front of the forearm, up into the shoulder, creates just tension everywhere. Next thing is that if your hands are down here, you've got a big wind scoop that is all of a sudden just allowing air into your frontal plane. So you get these 51 Speed Shop extensions. And by the way, this is not an ad for 51 Speed Shop. There's Zip, there's a whole bunch of other front end bar systems that can do this. Apparently Ventum is coming out with a new bar system. But if you have your hands a little bit further up, it's going to close up that hole. And then the thing that we did in addition to that was, well, I actually machined that on an angle in a video that we will link to just up here. And what that allows me to do is, again, bring those bars further up, again, narrowing up that frontal plane. Well, the final change that you can make, that I am about to make, is with the crank length. So, here. We have this new Dura-Ace crank, and let me explain here. I haven't even opened this. I hope this is a Dura-Ace crank. Oh yes, it's a Dura-Ace crank. That would have been an embarrassing video, very anticlimactic. So this here is a 165 length crank. Now, what a 165 length crank is it's a shorter distance from the center of the pedal to the center of the crank. And why this makes a difference is typically bikes come with a 170, a 172.5, a 175, and basically physically you can put out the same amount of power with a 165, a 170, a 175. The difference is just a couple of things. Number one, if you have a shorter crank, think about the pedal coming up here. That means that your saddle height can all of a sudden go higher than bringing your back a little bit flatter and a little bit more aerodynamic. Second thing is that if your crank is shorter, at the top of the pedal stroke, the pedal is all of a sudden now lower. That opens up your hip angle so that you aren't in quite the scrunched position. So even though you're actually getting basically a flatter back, your hips are more open, which is going to result in you being fresher when you get off the bike. So those are a few of the very easy changes that you can make to get significantly more aerodynamic without having to change your body structure or put yourself into a position that is uncomfortable. Because what's been found is the more comfortable you are in your bike position, the more you're going to stay in that position throughout the duration of the ride. So that is actually going to result in being more aerodynamic than getting absolutely as aerodynamic as possible. It's also going to result in you feeling better when you get onto the run. So it has a doubling effect of being more total aerodynamic on the bike and allowing you to be faster on the run. So those few things that you can do. Just narrow up the elbow cups a little bit, get that bar system, the aero bar extensions, a little bit higher, position those elbow cups so you can put all your weight right on your elbows, shorten up your crank length, and all of this is going to allow you to get 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes faster over the course of a half Ironman or an Ironman without really being that much more fit or that much more flexible. If you want to go through like a full understanding of bike fit position with saddle height, with saddle forward and back, with stack height, we have a full playlist that talks about it in 4 videos down here. And I forget what the URL is, but we'll put a URL right here for a free guide that you can download for how to just kind of settle into your personal bike position. And that's free. Just put in your email address and you get that. All right. Gun show. Later, Trainiacs.